Hello guys, welcome to Socio-Cultural Screencast on factors affecting participation and excellence in the UK. Now last lesson we had a look at, we've looked to explain the sports development pyramid, we've also looked at opportunity provision and stream, and we've looked at the factors affecting participation in young people. Tomorrow's lesson we're going to do two things. Firstly, we're going to have a look at certain measures that are used to increase participation. Firstly, for young people, and then secondly, we're going to have a look at some priority group measures or things that can be used for all groups that will allow participation to increase. Now, these key things here, these measures to increase participation, are vital. They have never come up in an exam before, and there's two particular initiatives or measures that are used from the government and also national governing bodies. They have a responsibility to try and increase participation. So I'm going to have a look at those, and then tomorrow's lesson, basically what you will do is you will come into the lesson, you'll have a quick recap on the factors affecting participation, and then I will give you a jumbled up example grid that will have loads of different examples from different priority groups, and you've got to work out which factor affecting participation the example aligns to. So we'll look at measures first to increase participation, then we'll have a look at these linking it to priority groups. So the key thing I need you to do for homework tonight, I'll look at these government and national governing body initiatives to raise participation. Okay, so I'll go forward a few. So, on here then, government initiatives that are used to raise participation. Now the first one you'll be very aware of. What did a government do to make you take part when you are from the age of 5 to 16? Well, what they do is they do something called the national curriculum. National curriculum particularly will focus on key stage 3 and 4. It's mandatory to do 2 hours PE per week. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing they do is they did set up something called the PESCL strategy. So you might want to write down what this means. PE, or physical education, school sport, club link strategy. Okay, so that is what PESCL stands for. Okay, and basically it is a scheme that has now been outdated since the specification came out, but it's still valid because it was in the specification, so we've got to put it anyway. PESCL strategy was basically something that tried to get a link between clubs and schools and tried to increase participation via that. There were certain strands within this PESCL strategy, and you might have been aware of some of them, you might be part of them. If you went to DICE, for example, you might have been identified as gifted and talented in your PE, or it might be another subject, and that was one of the PESCL strands for PE. So if you're gifted and talented, you were sent to these junior athlete education or lifestyle camps. Secondly, the government set up kind of sports colleges. So if you went to Droitwich High School, if you went to Dyson Perrins High School, they're both examples of sports colleges, okay, which revolve around having increased facilities, especially the staffs, links with the local schools, etc. And finally, they set up a kind of program called Step Into Sport, which basically involved voluntary leadership roles. Now, it has been replaced by something called a PSIP now, but we're just going to stick with PESCLs because that's what's in the specification when you for you. So, two things then. Firstly, government did have two key initiatives or measures to raise participation. They are the national curriculum for young people to make sure they take part. The second thing for young people is the PESCL strategy. 3 strands, you need to know those 3 strands there. Okay, so what is it that national governing bodies? Remember, national governing bodies are things like the Football Association, the Rugby Football Union, the Amateur Swimming Association, the Amateur Athletics Association, and these kind of national governing bodies have certain roles or certain initiatives to improve participation, and the key initiative they use is something called a whole sport plan. So for each sport they have their own sport plan, so a football sport plan, a rugby sport plan, and the plan basically involves, if they're going to receive funding from Sport England for community sport, they have to hit participation target figures for priority groups. So they have to have a certain amount of disabled people, a certain amount of women, a certain amount of young people taking part in their sport. If they do not reach those figures, then they do not get Sport England funding. So it's very simple. They have a whole sport plan. The plan must involve participation rates increasing for priority groups, which are disabled, elderly, ethnic minority, women, okay, and young people. So we'll have a look tomorrow at those priority groups in more detail. And then this kind of thing here, the motto behind a whole sport plan is you get people to start, stay, and succeed in sport. And that is the kind of motto behind it. So Mission 2012, it's gone obviously, but that was just a little thing based on that. You didn't have to put Mission 2012 if you don't want to. That's fine. You can stop there. So just re-emphasise, tomorrow's lesson will be based on firstly looking at these measures used to raise participation, and then we were going to have a look at the priority groups and how we apply the factors that we say stop participation in priority for young people, and we're going to apply those to examples from the 4 other priority groups. Okay, following that we'll have a look at measures that can be used across all priority groups to raise participation, as well as these government and national governing body initiatives. Thank you.